very American voice.
Hello, everyone joining. We're going to give it a couple of minutes and then we'll get started. Just waiting for everyone to join. For everyone that's just joined, hello, welcome. We're just going to give it 2 minutes for everyone to join the webinar and then we'll get started. It's great to see lots of you here. Okay, I think I'll get started. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our cyber simulation webinar. This is the first one of our cyber resilient care program, so we're very excited to launch this. I am Marta, Operations Manager at Digital Care Hub, and I'm joined by Joseph Ross from the Cyber Resilience Centre in Southwest and Sam Cattle from Digital Care Hub as well. I'll let them introduce themselves when they do their bit, but if we go to the next slide, please, Sam. So just a few things. You're on mute and you can't be seen, so don't worry about that. The webinar is being recorded, so you'll get access to the slides and the recording after. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A function so we can keep track of all your questions instead of the chat. If you're on a phone, tap on the screen to see the controls and you can choose more and then Q&A. And anything that we can answer today, will if you leave your email with us, or we can drop our email, we can answer those questions over email. This webinar will not last longer than 1 hour. And yeah, as I said, you'll get access to everything after the webinar. Slide. So what are we covering today? We're going to do some introductions from Joe about the Cyber Resilience Centre and the work that they do. We're going to talk about the cyber resilient care, why it's important and why we've launched this program and what we're going to go through. And then we're going to work through some phishing attack scenarios that you'll all be able to participate in and choose the different options for each scenario. We're going to do this 3 times. And then we're going to look at the key takeaways from these scenarios, and we'll be answering all of your questions at the end. So without further ado, I'm going to pass over to Joe from the Cyber Resilience Centre in Southwest to do some introductions.
Thanks, Marta. Hi, everybody. I'm Joe. I'm one of the directors of the Southwest Cyber Resilience Centre. As you can see from the map on the right, we are part of a bigger network. So we cover the entirety of England and Wales. We're a police-led and Home Office-funded initiative. So both myself and my co-director are employed by the police to run the centre to try and support all SMEs in the Southwest. So that means everyone from a sole trader all the way up to 249 members of staff, and including the third sector, so charities, non-profits, schools, and very much targeting those who need additional support with anything related to cyber. So very much including the care community. With our membership, which is all completely free with us being Home Office funded, you get access to a simple cyber action plan, which is 1 email for 12 weeks covering the basics of cyber resilience and good cyber hygiene. These cover everything from passwords all the way through multi-factor authentication and more ways of getting your organization secure. With that, we encourage everyone in an organization to sign up, not just the IT person, because these hygiene tips are all valuable for anybody in their personal life as well. And lots, as we're about to find out with phishing, lots of these attacks can be combated with good personal cyber hygiene both at home and in the workplace. We also put out regular monthly news and threat assessments to let you know what's going on in the field of cybersecurity in the Southwest. What we see on the news is very much these large companies being attacked, which isn't necessarily a reflection of what's happening every day to us smaller businesses. So we get stories from smaller businesses as well as through insurance brokers around what is happening in the Southwest and how to protect against that. Next slide, please, Sam. We're also positioned as a one-stop shop for cyber. So we ourselves don't do anything other than give you a bit of guidance, but we are connected within the community of cyber in the Southwest. So we've got connections to Police Cyber Protect, which can come in and deliver generalized content for supporting organizations with cyber. We're connected to the Regional Organised Crime Unit and the local forces, digital capabilities units. So these are the people that will investigate crime if it's gone wrong. So if something has really gone wrong and you reach out to us, we can direct you around how to report that and how to receive the best support from police, as well as private sector if required. We've got connections to CyberPath, which is the National Cyber Resilience Centre Group's student services. So these are heavily subsidised services which can be provided to come up with an assessment or training for your staff, or an assessment of your services and website to see where vulnerabilities are, so then you can ensure that you're not leaving any doors wide open. And then following on from that, we've got our Cyber Essentials partners and our professional partners, which are commercial entities, so they're private sector organisations that have partnered with us to support the community. There are charges for CyberPath, Cyber Essential partners and professional partners, but within those partnerships, we're aiming to keep those costs as low as possible. So it's as easy as it can be for organisations to take cyber proactively and get the defences in place, because there is a common misconception that cyber has to be really expensive, and lots of organisations love that because they'll go and charge you lots of money to protect yourself, which is why we're here, because we want you to be protecting yourself. We want you to be proactive around your own cybersecurity. However, we also want to make sure that that's affordable and reasonable for your organisation. So that's a quick overview around the Cyber Resilience Centre. I've got a short video next, which will show basically everything I've just said, but also the details to sign up. And if you want to get in touch with us for a one-to-one consultation, we can talk through your organisation and talk about those services and something that you might want to be signposted onto. But I really do encourage you to sign up for free at our website to receive our initial support. Could you go on to the next slide, please, Sam? So I had a nice little testimonial from Bob. So yeah, you can go to our website, sign up for free support, or book a one-to-one with myself or my colleagues, and then we can walk you through anything and find out where you are and what your next steps will be. But that's everything from my intro to the Cyber Resilience Centre. Thank you very much, everyone, and over to you, Sam.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much, Joe. Appreciate that. Hello, everyone. I'll introduce myself. My name is Sam, and I'm the shiny, brand new technical cyber lead for the Digital Care Hub. You may also know me from another cyber resilience centre in the northeastern Yorkshire, or possibly from NHS. I feel like that Simpson character saying that. Also, apologies for the video bar. I clicked away and tried to get rid of it, but didn't. But moving on, let's have a look at why cyber resilient care is important and why it matters. So the reason resilience is so important at the moment is that unfortunately it's no longer a question of if an attack is going to happen, but when an attack is going to happen. And your ability to withstand, respond, and recover under pressure could define your organization's very survival. This is why in this particular phishing scenario I've built, it's already too late. It's already happened. It's not being stopped. The reason phishing is so important at the moment, it's one of the biggest attack areas, especially in the care sector, but everywhere at the moment. It's a growing threat of phishing in UK social care environments. It's obviously high risk to highly sensitive personal data and your finances with these phishing attacks. And it's a role of non-technical managers quite often in quickly identifying and escalating issues. And when you don't know much about technology, that's a lot of pressure to put on. So I wanted to take you through a quick scenario, a few options that you can vote on, so you can start to get a feel for things to look out for. So first of all, I was about to ask for the next slide then and realized I was the slide clicker. So first of all, let's go through the situation itself. Apologies if I'm looking this way, that's where my screen is. So the situation in this is a staff member has accidentally paid an invoice to a fake supplier after receiving a phishing email. Now, you as a non-technical manager or as a lead, find out after the payment has already been processed. Now, after this, it's how are you going to respond to this? You can see the phishing email there. Interesting story, when I first built that, my antivirus removed it. So I had to very quickly take a screenshot before it disappeared again. And let's move on to your actual options and voting now. So if you can imagine the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire thing, this is the doo bit. That's why I put a dark background there. So you've just discovered that a staff member paid a fake supplier. The invoice may be for a significant amount, and the staff member is worried they're going to get into trouble. You have 4 possible options with this. Your option A, you immediately contact your IT supplier and your bank to investigate and secure systems and attempt to recall the payment. You got B, you can ignore it, but give the staff member an official warning for failing to follow your policy and falling for a phishing email. You got C, investigate quietly on your own. Take your time to review the staff member's email and invoices carefully to confirm it's really a scam before making any decisions. And then D, you've got contact the bank to try and recall the payment, but hold off on engaging IT or anybody else just until you're certain what will happen. Now, if I didn't have my cyber background, I'd be very tempted to C, because I'm very cautious when it comes to things like this. Hopefully you should be able to see the voting up there now. Thank you very much, Marta. This is a good one. Just be comfortable with what you don't know. Just like I wouldn't walk into a social care setting and start trying to provide care. Same applies to IT and cyber. If you're unsure, don't hesitate to reach out. There's no such thing as a stupid question. And as you heard from Joe, the Digital Care Hub, we're all here to help if you need it. So I'm going to give that voting a few minutes. I would say discuss it amongst yourselves, but I realize there's quite a few people, so that might take an hour. So what I'll do is I'll just give it about 30 seconds. It looks really good at the moment.
If you want to put any comments about it, just we can talk about it in the chat whilst we wait for everyone to vote as well.
Perfect. I see nobody's picking B at the moment. That's quite nice. I think that's fairly affirmative. I don't know if that's going to get shown to you all.
Yep, just sharing the results now.
Perfect. Yeah, fairly renounding success for A, which is good. Immediately contact your IT supplier and your bank to investigate and secure systems and attempt to recall the payment. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each of these options and talk through it. So I'll just show you on the next screen what it'll look like. So there's a lot of stuff going on here, but what I'll do, I don't know if you can see my mouse, there's my mouse, is I'll discuss obviously which option has been picked. Then I'll go through what the good points are, what the negative points are, what the summary is, and then what actually happens in this particular scenario. The thing I want to make clear is that Obviously, from my experience, there's some strong ones that you should probably head towards, and there's some weaker options, but everything has a positive and negative. So some of the really good, stronger resolves that I think's probably best will still have some negative aspects to them. And equally, some of the weaker ones that I think will have some positives to them. So I just want you to take you through that a little bit. So first of all, option A, most of you picked that, fantastic. Immediately contact your IT supplier and your bank to investigate and secure systems and attempt to recall the payment. Positives to this, obviously higher chance of recovering funds or minimizing the loss. Proactive security, you address potentially ongoing threats quickly. Transparent communication can reassure staff and prevent panic or any culture blame. Negatives to this is that immediate coordination might temporarily disrupt other work. While you're concentrating on this, you know what it's like in the care sector. If you move your focus elsewhere, it is going to cause some disruption. And it could create short-term alarm if staff misunderstand your urgency. In summary for this one, you move quickly on both the financial and security fronts. The bank may freeze or reverse the payment, and your IT supplier can check for any deeper breaches. Staff see you taking decisive action, which boosts confidence, and the anxious employee feels supported rather than punished, reducing fear across the whole team. In this particular case, because you acted swiftly, the fake supplier's account is flagged and no one else falls victim. Background story, I used to work for a bank, probably can't name who they are, but it was a corporation that may or may not have been based in Shanghai or Hong Kong. And we received these a lot. So we did something called unusual activity report or a suspicious activity report. So the fact that if you do report these things, if something does happen, please do report them, whether you get an email or one of those text messages, because it could be the piece of jigsaw that's needed to shut something down. So that's just a part of this. So please do report, whether it's to the bank, to the police, whether it's to that phishing@gov.uk, report it whenever you can. So as I say, the account flagged and no one else will fall victim to this because you've got it early. The bank manages to recall half the funds, though the rest are sent abroad. Unfortunately, it is true, even if you do everything right, not always you'll get 100% back. That's just unfortunately part of cybercrime, especially in a bank when you're trying to recall payments. If it's gone abroad, usually it's too late, although we'll obviously try our best. They'll try their best. Your IT supplier actually discovers that the PDF allowed an account takeover, but it's now contained because you reached out to them early enough. Morale stays steady since staff trust the organisation is prepared to handle mistakes without any undue blame. So fantastic. Most of you voted for that. That's excellent. So we're going to go through some of the other ones now. Nobody picked this one, which is really good to hear. Ignore it, give the staff member an official warning for failing to follow policy. Now, there are some positives with this. It's a clear signal that policy violations have consequences. And in the short term, it does generally resolve things quickly. So it's quick one and done. Negatives to this, no real resolution of any of the underlying threat. The funds and the systems remain at risk. Obviously, damaged morale, staff fear reporting issues, which can lead to the worst problems down the line. And it's possibly ongoing fraud if the scammer or malicious access isn't taken care of through IT, whether that's your internal team or an IT supplier. Summary, you don't address the scam itself, so any financial or IT threats remain. Instead, you focus on disciplining the staff member. This fosters a fearful atmosphere where people worry about punishment rather than alerting management to potential breaches. Over time, staff may hide mistakes or to avoid repercussions, damaging team cohesion and trust. Obviously, in this particular scenario, the staff member feels demoralized and eventually leaves, increasing turnover. Others, seeing the blame solely placed on that staff member, become reluctant to report errors and mistakes. And meanwhile, the scammer remains undetected, having taken over the internal email account through a PDF that was never investigated. This leads to further exploits and significant losses for the organization, as well as reputational loss amongst carers who should be able to work there. Option C, not too bad. Investigate quietly on your own. This is probably the one that I'd be more comfortable with, as I say, because I'm quite cautious. Take your time to review the staff member's email and invoices carefully to confirm it's really a scam before actually doing anything. Positives of this is there's less risk of overreacting if it turns out to be a smaller issue. And you gain detailed knowledge of how the scam occurred, which can be used later in your own prevention strategies. Negatives to this is that time lost. The bank can't attempt to recall if you wait too long. If the money's gone, it's too late to pull it back, unfortunately. Unclear protocol for staff. They remain in limbo and potential breaches go unchecked if there's nothing clear about it. And possibly larger financial impact if additional fraudulent activity happens in the meantime while you're doing your own research, your own sort of investigation. So in summary, you do try and confirm the details personally, ensuring you won't raise a false alarm. However, this delay can be critical. If the fraudster has compromised more accounts or is planning another scam, you lose valuable time that could be spent stopping further damage or recalling the funds. Staff member remains anxious, unsure whether to speak to others or wait for your findings. In this case, by the time you finish your investigation, the scammer has moved the stolen funds to multiple overseas accounts, making recovery impossible. And you learn that the PDF also meant the staff member's account was compromised and used to send further phishing emails, but using your organization's official email, resulting in more confusion. We go to option D. Contact the bank to try and recall the payment, but hold off on engaging in IT or alerting the rest of the team until you know for certain what has happened. There are some positives to this, is that you usually recovery of your funds if the bank acts quickly enough. And it avoids immediate panic or large-scale alerts, keeping day-to-day operations calmer in the short term. Obviously, the negatives to this is its unaddressed security risk. The attacker may still have valid credentials or access. In credentials with this, I just mean username and password. Delayed staff awareness. Others in the organization remain vulnerable to ongoing scams similar to this. And if multiple staff have clicked similar links, the breach might spread further before IT is involved. So in summary, you partially address the financial issue by contacting the bank, which may help recover the funds. However, the IT security side of the problem remains unattended, allowing any compromised email or system access to persist. Staff also remain unaware of phishing threats, so others could fall similar to other scams. Original staff member still feels isolated in the mistake, and the breach might expand further. Just let you know what would happen in this particular case. The bank freezes the payment just in time, saving you the funds that were originally taken. But the scammer has already taken over your email account using a malicious PDF. So using your own official email, they've sent more phishing emails out undetected. Days pass before you realize the full extent, and it forces your IT supplier into a costly cleanup, adding thousands to expensive and increasing premium insurance. Insurance premiums. Premium insurance would be nice, but yeah. So we're going to go on to the next one, which is often forgotten in cyber circles, I think, which is communication. Which communication approach do you choose? So it's now been a day since the incident. The staff member at fault is feeling guilty and rumors are starting to spread. You must decide how to communicate with both internal and external parties. So again, you've got the 4 options. Number 8, you've got wait for official guidance from senior management or your IT supplier before notifying anyone externally. Internally, just provide a brief heads up to staff that an issue has occurred. B, we don't need this reputational hit on this. Downplay the incident, tell staff it was a technical issue that's been sorted, make no mention of it to anyone externally unless absolutely forced. You've got C, publicly announce a breach on your website and social media if you have it. Share the complete phishing email to show exactly how it happened. This transparency, you believe, will raise awareness and help others avoid the same scam. And then you've got D, use a business continuity plan, which we've all got. We know business continuity plans, and use that to guide your communication. Internally, staff receive clear guidance on the incident and how to prevent it in the future, and externally, only those affected directly or indirectly are informed, and it's reported to ICO if legally required. So again, you've got 4 options there. Number B, as you can see, we don't need the reputational hit on this. As much as I've made it fairly obvious that that's probably not the strongest way to go, that is how a lot of organizations go, because when that cyber hits you, it's really difficult and really embarrassing to put your hand up and say, we made a mistake, and receive that potential backlash from whether it's public, media, something like that. But it's quite important to try your best to not do that. I'll give you a few minutes to have a look through that. Let's have a look. This is good. I'm glad nobody's picking B again. Interesting. A seems quite popular at the moment. Wait for official guidance.
Up the poll now. Sam.
Is it done now?
Yeah.
Ah, fantastic. Let's go through it. So most of you seem to have picked A, which I understand why you'd pick A, but just be a little bit careful. So option A, wait for the official guidance from senior management or your IT supplier before notifying anyone. And for staff, just give them a heads up. A positive with this is it's consistent. You'll have aligned messaging once management and IT have finalized details. And it avoids panic initially by controlling the flow of information. The negative side, however, is that it's delaying informing any external stakeholders who may have personal or financial data at risk. Internally, staff only get partial information, which can fuel speculation and stops any learning happening straight away. And it could appear that you're withholding the truth if people find out through unofficial channels being service users or whispers, rumors, staff talking to each other, Facebook groups, all that kind of stuff. So in summary, you do avoid confusion by waiting for an official stance. However, external stakeholders might remain in the dark longer, which can cause frustration and mistrust if they sense a cover-up, and internally staff only get minimal information. So in this case, by the time a formal statement is released, family members have heard rumours from staff and service users, and trust begins to erode because they weren't informed. Meanwhile, a suspicious-looking email appears in the inbox, and a staff member clicks it because they didn't know what was happening. Key message in this is basically preparation beats panic. If you try and deal with things at the time, I think I'll go back one. Oh, if my thing works, there we go. Preparation. If you can look at this one, we'll go through it together. Pressure and beat panic. If an organization has a business continuity plan, or you might call it an incident response plan, communication protocols should already be clearly defined. And instead of making it up as you go along, a plan ensures a consistent, transparent, lawful communication, both internally and externally. So luckily nobody picked this one, but we'll go through it. Hide, basically.
Just so you know, Sam, most people picked D, in case it didn't show for you.
Oh, it's not showing on me. Did most people pick? Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, we got 92% people picked D and 8% picked A.
Oh, fantastic. I can only see a blue thing on there. Oh, thank you for that, Marta.
You
Everyone,
might have to scroll
I'm
down
so
a little
sorry.
bit.
That's exactly what I had to do. Thank you. Oh, well, that's really good. You're all absolutely on it, so ignore what I said earlier. B, nobody picked this, which is fantastic, which is put your head in the sand. Now, there are some positives of this. There's no immediate public fuss or external inquiries, and it's minimal short-term disruption in daily operations. The negatives of this, obviously high risk of legal or regulatory consequences if sensitive data was exposed at all. Loss of trust from staff, families, and the community once the truth emerges, and it can create a culture of secrecy, discouraging staff from reporting future incidents. Initially, you might avoid external questions or scrutiny, but the breach remains a secret. If personal info was involved, example, any care records, regulators like the ICO should be informed. Failing to do so can lead to severe penalties. families or guests may lose trust if they learn of the breach later. So in this particular case, a family member overhears staff speculating about the phishing incident and raises concerns. After receiving unsatisfactory answers from your organisation, they escalate the issue, and a local journalist picks up the story, leading to an external investigation and severe reputational damage. So I think you all know, try not to stick your head in the sand as much as that's when you're under that pressure, when something's happening, that is kind of what you want to do, which is why having a plan beforehand is really good to go through. Option C, publicly announce the breach on your website, social media, if you've got those, sharing a complete phishing email. I don't think many people, that's good. This is oversharing, as you can probably imagine. Now, there are some positives. It's got maximum transparency. People get a real life example of the phishing email, which can be educational, and immediate awareness. Everyone, both inside and outside your organization, sees how this scam works. Obviously, the negatives, as staff privacy concerned, even if you didn't intend to name and shame, publishing the raw email does so inadvertently. As reputational risk, publicly revealing internal emails may be seen as disorganized or careless when it's got sensitive information on it. And it can be exploited by other criminals who glean insights, examples, staff naming conventions or internal references in an email, and they can use that to craft newer attacks which are more difficult to spot. To add to this, I keep on using my mouse on my screen, to add to this one, with regenerative AI that we've got at the moment, you can use leaked emails to craft an email that looks almost exactly like an organization would, to make them much harder to spot. It's no longer quite the same as where you used to be able to say check for bad spelling, make sure that the logo isn't weird and stuff like that. When you use AI to create an email and you train it on some real emails, it can become really difficult to spot. So in this case, by publishing the entire email, including the staff member's email address, you've unintentionally revealed who was targeted. This can embarrass a staff member or expose further data. Publicizing the email's content might also give other scammers clues about your organization's structure and lead to further issues. So in this one, the community sees the real name of the staff member in the to field. The staff member feels humiliated and complains about privacy. Meanwhile, media coverage escalates, focusing on the exposed staff details rather than the scam prevention message you had intended. And then option D, which I now know most people picked, fantastic. Thank you for that, Marta, and everyone who voted. So use the BCP to guide your communication. Great point is that it's transparency. People affected get timely, accurate information, protects privacy. The staff member's name isn't broadcast, and it reduces blame and morale issues. Regulatory compliance, obviously ICO or other authorities are alerted if sensitive data was compromised, avoiding bigger fines later. Some of the negatives to this is some may still be upset or worried about a breach at all. Any incident can cause concern, and it sometimes does. You can't avoid that. There's going to be some people that's just upset that anything's happened. And it does require careful coordination to ensure messaging is consistent and sensitive, which can cost quite a lot of time. Somewhere you maintain openness with those who need to know, but protect the staff member's identity and avoid sensationalizing. Stakeholders see you taking responsible action, building trust. The ICO is notified if personal data is compromised, so you remain absolutely compliant. In this case, families are reassured that while a breach did occur, their data is safe and being carefully monitored. Staff know the lessons learned without blaming the individual, and the organization's reputation is largely preserved. Fantastic. So, last one now, we go to round 3, which is lessons learned from everything we've just been through. It's now a week after the incident. You've managed to contain the immediate threat and communications have been handled for better or worse. In your case, it's been handled better. Well done. You may decide the primary next step. You must decide the primary next step to embed lessons learned across the organization. So again, you've got A, B, C, or D. Do you crack down on staff mistakes with an official policy of zero tolerance? Do you invest in cutting edge security technology? Do you update the business continuity plan with lessons from the incident and conduct a structured review of what happened? Or the chances of this happening was already remote, so the likelihood of it happening again is almost impossible. No need to dwell on it, move on and focus on care. Now I know to scroll down, I can see you answering, so that's fantastic. think most of you know all this stuff, and I'm going to have to make these much more difficult. I'm going to have to make it a little less obvious about which choices to go for. I do like somebody's like wanting investing in high cutting edge technology. I do like that. You have to think which option best strengthens long-term resilience and why. There's differences here between a purely technological approach, punitive approach, ignoring problems, and a collaborative learning strategy. You see how long-term things can help. I think that's a resounding vote there by the looks of it. Yeah, fantastic. Well, I say the vast majority of people have voted for C. I think that's probably the strongest one, but we'll go through them. So if you did pick crack down on staff mistakes as an official policy of zero tolerance, I think you all know by now that this is the darker path to go down. Positives, it does demonstrate to everyone that security is serious, and some staff may double check everything to avoid being penalised. You will get staff. If you put that kind of pressure on staff, one of the positives is that you generally do get staff just double checking everything from a security point of view. But obviously the negatives, I think, probably massively outweigh that. It's a culture of fear. Staff stop reporting near misses or asking for help. Potential staff turnover if they feel particularly anxious or unfairly punished. And incidents can go unnoticed or escalate since people keep quiet rather than putting the hand up and saying, I think I've made a mistake. So in summary, you decide that any staff member who falls for phishing or makes a security error will face strict disciplinary measures. Staff are on high alert, but fear of punishment discourages open communications. Errors can be hidden or underreported. So in this case, after adopting zero tolerance, another employee notices a suspicious link but hesitates to report it, worried they'll be blamed if it's a false alarm. This link turns out to be a genuine threat and no one reacts until it's too late. A second breach occurs, exacerbating the damage. So well done everyone for not picking that. Option B, invest in cutting edge technology. This is something that I do, but I think it's just because I really like technology. Obviously, a positive, it significantly reduces spam or malicious emails reaching inboxes, and it does signal to stakeholders that you are investing heavily in modern security and taking it seriously. Negatives to this is that it can give a false sense of security. Over-reliance on tech can ignore human vulnerabilities. It lacks policy improvement or any staff awareness training, and the high cost may not pay off if people are still easily tricked by social engineering. So in summary, you focus on buying advanced tools like AI-based email filters, threat detection software, and robust firewalls. While these upgrades may reduce many technical risks, staff remain undertrained on social engineering and policy gaps can remain unaddressed. So in this particular case, a social engineer phones an unsuspecting staff member claiming to be from the security upgrade team. Believing the call is part of this fancy new system that's been rolled out, the staff member shares their password. Scammer quickly gains access, bypassing all your expensive tech. I've seen this happen in engineering firms, in banks, all across, where they try the easiest way to appease like security is to buy more stuff, buy more software, supply this, get that, but they completely forget about the staff training or staff awareness or bringing a better culture. And so it falls apart with a single phone call or a particularly well-crafted email. You'll have all received like text messages and stuff like that. And it's just to be aware of those. There we go. So option C, update the BCP with lessons learned from the incident and conduct a structured review of what happened. I say this is the strongest one, I believe, and guys have all got this straight away. So this is fantastic. Positive is this holistic improvement, both technology and human processes evolve. Encourages learning culture. Staff feel safe at reporting issues earlier. And increases resilience as the BCP now reflects real world lessons as what's happened. There are some negatives. Time and effort. Running post-mortems and updating documentation does require coordination and it does require some investment in time, which I know in this particular sector is very expensive and difficult to come by. And some staff might initially resist sharing mistakes, but trust does typically grow once you see that it's constructive. In summary, you organise a formal debrief where staff openly discuss what went wrong, why it happened, and how to prevent it. Key insights and improved protocols go into a revised BCP, business continuity plan, ensuring future incidents are handled faster and more effectively. In this particular case, during the structured review, one team member reveals that the invoice looked normal except for the 1 instead of the I in the email address. Don't know if any of you spotted that in the brief moment I showed the email, but it was in there. Now, by documenting these red flags in the updated business continuity plan and the staff guidelines, future invoice scams are spotted quickly and staff gain confidence that mistakes can be discussed without blame and used to train everybody else. It's fantastic. And then option D, I don't think anybody picked this either, but chance of it happening, this is again, stick in your head, this is the ostrich view where you just pretend it didn't happen. Chance of it happening are already remote, so the likelihood of it happening again is impossible. There's no need to dwell on it, move on and focus on care. There are some positives, like with every potential weak option. There's no immediate workload, there's no extra planning, there's no meetings, and there's no reviews into what happened. The time is yours. So some staff might feel relieved that they avoid rehashing a stressful incident. So there are a couple of little positives there. Obviously, the negatives in this is there's no improvement. Same or worse breaches will likely happen in the future. Staff confusion, people remain unsure how to detect or report phishing, and potentially larger financial or reputational damage when a future incident inevitably occurs. If you do nothing at all, things can happen again. So in summary, you make no policy changes, there's no official review and no training updates. The incident is quickly forgotten as a one-off. Staff remain unclear on how it occurred or how to prevent repeats. And in this particular scenario, with no formal lessons learned, the same attackers attempt another phishing scheme a few months later. Because staff never discussed or learned from the last breach, the scam succeeds again, costing even more lost funds and time. You are on the sucker list because you fell for it once, you will likely fall for it again. So what I'm going to do now is going to go through a quick summary of all the sort of lessons learned from that. I think you've all voted fantastically on that, and it has made me realize that I may need to make this a little bit more tricky. So thank you for that. But in summary, preparation obviously beats panic. Have a business continuity plan or incident response plan ready to go. The investment in time now saves so much hassle and heartache if anything does actually happen. Test it regularly so you're not improvising under pressure. Obviously, timely, honest communication. Holding a breach, hiding a breach rarely ends well for anyone. Clear internal and external messaging builds trust and it reduces confusion when an incident is happening. Support over blame, culture of learning encourages staff to report mistakes early. I say mistake and I feel a bit harsh because it's not always a mistake. Any one of us could be a little bit tired or had a stressful day or we're working a double shift, anything like that. It's easy to click something you're not meant to do. We all know what we're meant to do, but it's so easy to just click something or open something without thinking. So that's a big thing, like try to have a blameless culture as much as you can. Fear of punishment leads to delayed reporting and potentially bigger problems later. Yeah. Technology helps, but culture counts. Advanced security tools can fail if staff aren't aware or aren't trained. So combine tech solutions with policy reviews, training, and awareness sessions. Try and combine the two as much as you can. It's a balancing act. And continuous improvement. Use real incidents to update your processes. It doesn't have to be an incident that happens to you either, by the way. If you know an incident's happened, like from the Cyber Resilience Center or the local, something like that, think about how you'd react to that. Could you react to that? Have you got the systems in place to react to it? And review what went well, what didn't, and feed those lessons back into your business continuity plan. It's an evolving documentation, which is good. And finally, I'm just going to go through a personal note. So a bit of a confession. Maybe I shouldn't say this with the Joseph on the line, who's part of the police, but never mind. It's too late now. I've written it. I was once a hacker. I used to poke around systems, seeing what I could accidentally break. I put it in third person because I didn't know I'd be doing this, so apologies. I am good now, I promise, but I do know firsthand how easily small errors can be manipulated and exploited. The lesson is mistakes do happen. Like, people do click things, people are tired, people do stuff. Best defense is to be prepared, report issues fast, and knowing that you're never alone. There's always somebody who can help. As even it's just to say, what you did, you clicked what? There's always going to be help out there, especially in the modern times where cyber is constantly evolving. We're all here to like back you up. So some of my hints from my days as a hacker is only awkward. The sooner you admit something's gone sideways, the sooner you can fix it and save yourself much bigger hassles later. Easier said than done, but it is really useful just to swallow that. When you've got a lump in your throat, just go, right, let's go and ask for help. Strength in numbers. Get some good relationships with your IT supplier, a cyber resilience center, digital care hub with us, or even just that one colleague who always finds you missing keys. They really, all of those really do matter in a crisis. And stay as calm as possible. Preparation, openness, and a supportive culture can turn absolute terrifying, what do we do, running around like a headless chicken and innocent, into that you've got this, you can go through it. Be prepared, not paranoid. I think that's everything from me now. I'm absolutely fantastic that you all voted really well with that. I'll go to the next slide now for any questions at all.
Thanks, Sam. We do have a couple of questions. Whilst I give you those, I'm just going to launch this sort of little survey I've created just for everyone to give us some feedback, given this is our first cyber simulation webinar. So we have a couple of questions. One of them, many smaller providers do not have an IT supplier. So what do they do then? Sam or Joe, if you want to pick that up. You want me to repeat it?
No, I'm just
Mhm.
thinking. So if you haven't got an IT supplier, then I'd reach out for as much free help as you can, like from digital care hubs, CRCs. Yep, I can see Joseph like waving there, because we can really help you what to do, technical controls. Joseph, do you want to like jump on as well? This is your specialty.
Yeah, happy to. Echo what Sam said. Yeah, reach out for the free support that is available to you. If you don't have an IT supplier, someone in your organization is responsible for IT, whether that's because it's landed on their plate and they're not a specialist at all, and it's just something they're responsible for, or if you've got someone in-house that you reach out to that's got an interest, all the way up to larger organizations that have in-house IT teams. So if you're on the smaller end and you don't have that person, really make sure that the person who is responsible for IT, even if that's yourself, make sure you're as knowledgeable as you can be. Whether that's through signing up to the CRC and Digital Care Hub for up-to-date news, because the guidance from the government changes very regularly. So it's not a one-stop shop. It's a case of trying to keep yourself constantly informed. A bit of regular CPD in cyber would be really helpful.
Thank you very much, both. And then the other question is, how does a PDF, I think, Sam, this is related to one of your scenarios, but how does a PDF take over an account, and how do we prevent these from happening?
Anti-malware will pick up mostly if you put a virus or a Trojan, hide it onto a PDF. You can do it free online. I shouldn't say that. You can do it free online. Just a good anti-malware should pick up something like that. And also just training of knowing, try not to double click on something. So for example, that was a real PDF that I used, but it used to be that you'd put .pdf, .exe. If Joe, if you've got anything else.
Yeah, so code can be embedded in pretty much any file. So it might look like a PDF, it might act like a PDF, and without further investigation, you as a user wouldn't know that it's got anything else there. Even when you open it, it might still be a PDF. So yeah, antivirus, anti-malware will scan that PDF before you open it to make sure there's nothing that it knows is malicious before you open that.
Exactly. So make sure that if you've got anti-malware, whether that's just your sort of default Windows Defender or you've got an ESET suite, make sure it's always up to date and fully patched, ready to go.
Yeah, there are also proactive elements of that to scan for unknown threats, things like CrowdStrike, which will use AI to detect patterns, so it will predict whether something could be malicious, even if it's not been seen before. Whereas traditional anti-malware has a known database of malicious code which it scans against. So there are up and coming benefits of AI.
Absolutely. Well, that's why my fake one kept getting deleted, because my AI kept on seeing it as a scam, even though I'd built it and sent it to myself, which is why I had to very quickly screenshot it before it disappeared again.
Thanks, guys. Any other questions related to the presentations, or any other questions related to cybersecurity or things that you should do? We will send a few links after the webinar and obviously the recording and the slides, but oh, thanks, Joe, for putting that there. But yeah, any other questions?
Everyone's
just put a
already
link in the
experts.
chat,
This is
everybody.
great.
Sorry. I've just put a link in the chat, everybody. If you're not already signed up to the centre, I'm a little bit biased, but I thoroughly recommend it for free support from us.
Awesome. Well, in that case, thank you very much, everyone, for joining, and yeah, see you soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.